been dying because I have not been active on this channel. One has a choice to make, right? Wanting to buy expensive books but not having the money, or making the money but then not having the time to read those expensive books that I just bought. Thankfully, this year is going much better reading wise, so I'm excited for you to discover my reading choices. Here are 20 books that you will love if you are unable to finish books, especially if you want to read short books. Why do I love short books? Because I can read them quickly. I can finish the book in one sitting, which gives me a great sense of accomplishment. And if you're somebody who feels like you're not being able to develop the reading habit very much, usually short books are great to start with. Today, we are only going to talk about fiction books in this genre. So please don't mind if you came here thinking of non-fiction book recommendations. I'll definitely make one if you request in the comment section below. But today, we are focusing on fiction, a part of my soul that I just cannot stay without. So without any further ado, let's get started with today's video. The first book we're going to talk about is Ludmila Petrushevsky's books. These books are horrific, bizarre, offbeat. If you are interested, I have talked about her books in the past. She's a beautiful Russian writer, and her books are always titled in a very sadistic, scary kind of a way. For example, this one is called There Once Lived a Woman Who Tried to Kill Her Neighbor's Baby, Scary Fairy Tales. But this is not the most interesting one. There's one that's called There Once Was a Girl Who Seduced Her Sister's Husband and He Hanged Himself, Love Stories. So the way the books are titled, but the kind of subtitling they get, it's very bizarre. These are short books, easy to finish. These are like short stories, in fact, inside the books. So you will get that immediate hit of, oh, I finished something, and that will make you want to read more. So hopefully this helps. This will go right into my Russian section. There's actually, I realize that I have very few Russian books, so I am accepting gifts of Russian books. Anyway, coming to India now, I highly recommend you read this book called Interrogation by Sunil Gangopadhyay. You can read it in Bangla also if you read the language. It's a book about a woman called Lakshmi who was trafficked and then she's found, but her life changes forever, and there's a mistake that some people have made, which it's not very evident what it is, and they're mistaking her for someone else. So who is she really? It's a very different kind of a story. I wouldn't say it's an amazing book, but it's very different from the kind of books I usually read. So highly recommend it in case you want to read something new to your taste. This will go back into my Indian reading section right here. Next up, we have Rowley Jefferson's series, awesome, friendly, spooky stories. I really like Jeff Kinney's book. It's a fun genre, it's a fun take on horror, so I'm hoping that anybody can read it and it's super enjoyable for everybody. If you see inside, it's like very well illustrated, and that is one of the things that I like the most about Jeff Kinney books. Like, it doesn't feel like a book, it feels like a graphic novel. So I guess it does fall in the category of graphic novels, if I'm not wrong. The next book that I recommend, now we're going to go to Japan. So this book is South of the Border, West of the Sun. If you want to get started reading Murakami, it's one of the best it's one of the best books to start off with. I really like his quotes. I really like the way he talks about things, and the way he captures human emotions. South of the Border, West of the Sun is one of my personal favorites, and it's one of the most underrated Murakami books. If anybody has already read it, I will love for you to tell me what you think of it. But right now, I'm just gonna put it back in my Murakami section. I have 4 Murakami books in this house, and this is the entire collection. So I have After Dark, I have The Elephant Vanishes, I have Dance, 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 and I have South of the Border, West of the Sun. I also have Kafka on the Shore and Norwegian Wood, but it's in my other house. So right now, all my books combined, I think I have 700 books, and that is something I'm super proud of because I have bought all my books myself. I'm so proud of the fact that I used to be somebody who did not have the money to buy books. I borrowed most of the books throughout my teenage, and now I have a library of 700 plus books, out of which like 300 are maybe in this house. I'll definitely give you a full book tour. I am sure you guys can see that it's a pretty big bookshelf. So you guys might want to see the full picture soon, but yeah, for now I'll just keep it back here again. I'm sure I have messed up the positioning, but all right. Let's come back to my books now. The next book is again a Japanese folktale book. It's a very short and crisp book. I usually carry it on my travels because it's so easy to finish, and every time I read it I find it very amusing. So definitely a book I recommend if you want to get started with Japanese literature but then don't want to get into something too intense, because Murakami is, of course, like, it's very intense. This is folk tales, and some folk tales are like, it feels like versions of Indian stories as well. So the connect there is definitely amusing. The next book is Communion by Bell Hooks. This is probably the only non-fiction that I'm talking about. If you want to read very beautifully articulated essays on love, romance, and, you know, finding the right partner in your life and how relationships should be built, this is the book to read. It has such beautiful lines, and I think a few things I just want to read out. It talks about how women always must earn love, and she has to be good to be loved, and good is never defined by yourself. It's described by other people. Other people decide whether you're good enough or not. Okay, and that is such a hard-hitting realization, right? So I really liked it. There's a beautiful line that again I have underlined. This one: given our early obsession with seducing and pleasing others to affirm our own worth, we lose ourselves in the search to be accepted, included, and desired. It's not just a book about romance. It's actually about self-love more than that. So I highly recommend that you do. I have been searching for the love of my life, and I want to have the most beautiful relationship the next time I'm in one. So this book is definitely one book that I think I learned a lot from, and I actually have a good enough section on love and romance, but pata nahi kitabein padh ke hota bhi hai ya nahi. But moving on, there is a book called How to Live Your Life by Ruskin Bond. This is a very entertaining read. It's more for children, but I have a beautiful memory with this book. So one of my very close friends, she was in the hospital, and I read this book out to her at that point, and it's such a beautiful memory for me. And yeah, so it's not just about this book, it's also about the memories that you create with books. And one of my core memories is reading out books and having books read out to me. I had a partner who used to read out a book to me every night, because I used to have trouble falling asleep after I moved out, and he used to read until I would fall asleep. Of course, the relationship did not last, but I only have fond memories, and a lot of that is about books. So I highly recommend that when you're becoming a reader, it's not just about reading in isolation. There's a lot of memories that you'll build with other people as well. So this is one of the core memories that I have built with this book, and it was great because she was very upset, and this book kind of gave her some motivation. So I highly recommend you read this one. I actually have a Ruskin Bond specific section, but I don't have a lot of books there, especially because I have so many Ruskin Bond books in my other apartments. I have not bought them on here, but I'm thinking I'll bring them so that one entire shelf just gets filled with Ruskin Bond. The next book that I recommend would be Dangers of Smoking in Bed. What a bizarre book. It's a dark, twisted book. It's gonna catch you really off guard, and yeah, this book I do not recommend for young people. Okay, it's only for adults. And as we go towards the end of today's video, I'm gonna discuss more and more books that are meant to be read only by adults. So I hope that kids are not watching this, but I guess ab tak koi dekh raha hoga to ab aur intently dekhega. There's Margaret Duras' book called The Lover. It's a pretty short book. It's just like 100 pages. So I'm sure everybody will be able to finish it. It's by a terrific writer. It has received high critical acclaim, so it's definitely a book to add to your read list. And I hope that this will be an exciting read for you as much as it has been for me. Two last books, even shorter ones, Emotionally, which is a dictionary for words that don't exist, for feelings that do. If I show the interior of this book to you, it's so nice. It's like a graphic novel. And I really like short books that are like graphic novels because it makes the process of reading so much more easier for me. And then I have this book called An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good, which is a gift from the same friend of mine who I was tending to in the hospital, and she gave this book to me as a thank you. And this is an imported book, so it was really expensive, and I had just kept it on my TBR. So she kind of saw it, she got it for me. And this is a book about an old lady. She's 83 and she's just having fun and creating trouble, and it's so fun to read, and at the same time it's kind of sinister as well, and you will not imagine what the storylines, you would not imagine. Like the first story, I did not expect it to turn out the way it did. There's a sequel to this book, to this series. I don't have that book, but I will definitely buy it after reading this one. But it's a very short book. You'll probably finish it in an hour or two maximum. So highly recommend it for those who want to finish reading a book quickly. The next book I recommend is The Day Before Today, Lockdown Stories, which is a short story collection of lockdown stories. Very easy language, very unique. Some of them are dark. I love this kind of niche. Now that I'm talking about books, I think a lot of the book reading that I do is not on the very bright side of life, and I feel like something is wrong with me that I do enjoy this niche so much. You guys tell me if you think the same, but yeah, I do enjoy it very, very much. Next up, I'll recommend you a few more books. Infidelities by Kirsty Gunn, especially the introduction, the way it ties up with the rest of the book, it is amazing. It is one of the nicer literary devices that I have seen in the recent past. Record of A Night to Breathe. This is a collection of 3 novellas, so even if you just finish one per day, you will have that sense of accomplishment. And again, Japanese writer. I really like Japanese writers and their writing styles because there's something so simple, but the ability to capture very complex emotions in them that I do not see in so many other nationalities. Like Russian writing is a little more complex to read, and while it does capture emotions for sure, I think because complex things are written in complex language, it kind of kills it there. But Japanese books, they're just something else. And lastly, The Doll by Ismail Kadare. This is an Albanian novel. As you guys know, I have taken the challenge of reading books from various countries this year. So of course, say Albania, Algeria chal raha hai abhi, and this was one of the best books I think I have read of world literature, because once I finished reading this book, I read up some explanations and it made me realize that I read the book in a very different way and I need to read it again to interpret it in the other ways that are meant for it. And that is cool. Like when you can read a book twice and feel very different and understand very different things, that is expertise of an author, and I think that is incredible. So yeah, hopefully these recommendations will help you. I'd like to end today's video by talking about 3 books that I highly recommend for you if you are comfortable with disturbing topics, disturbing stories, and very disturbing graphics as well, that are rooted in the psychology of human behavior. And that is Yoshihiro Tatsumi's series. I definitely found the illustrations extremely disturbing, the storylines extremely disturbing, and the entirety of this thing is like disturbing as fuck. So I hope that you will like these. I'll definitely try to recommend some brighter books in my next videos. I hope that this video was entertaining for you and you will pick up some of these short books. I will see you with another video next week, and I am planning to be much more active on this channel. I find it very hard to talk only about books, so maybe I'll pivot a little bit, talk a little bit more about my life. But yeah, that is it. This is Helly signing off, and bye bye.